that particular raid was inspired because of this gal. This is Kayla Mullah, who was a U.S. hostage killed in ISIS custody. The raid against Baghdadi was named for her. And the story goes here, this is in the Washington Post, that a dark, dangerous operation that claimed the life of Islamic State leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi was named after 26-year-old Kayla Mullah, an American who was kidnapped by the extremist group and killed in 2015. Mullah was described by her family as a compassionate and devoted humanitarian, traveled to Turkey in 2012 after her graduation and then crossed the border into Syria on a mission to help those fleeing the civil war in the country. She was leaving a hospital run by the medical charity Doctors Without Borders in Syria city of Aleppo when she was kidnapped in August 2013. And she was under the custody of Baghdadi, and apparently Baghdadi taken to, of course, raped this particular girl a number of times before she was killed, and even right now her body has not been found. Let's just begin with you, Dr. Mustafa, on this.
Yeah, Dibal, well, the kind of things that Baghdadi did personally is nothing less than revolting, disgusting, appalling. And you know, the people who are celebrating quietly, perhaps, and mostly are the Yazidis, the Iraqis, the Syrians, the Christians who, there was a clear attempted genocide on them in parts of Syria and Iraq, and the vast majority of Muslims, not just in Iraq and Syria, but around the world. I don't want to go into, you know, how Trump described the killing of or the dying of Baghdadi. I want to focus on what it means for us.
But it's important actually to just talk about that, because maybe even the Muslim community will take special umbrage in such, you know, should I call it pejorative language that Donald Trump was spewing, you know, addressing this particular issue as well, now calling him a whimpering dog.
Yes.
From the Islamic community, I think when you speak in such a derogatory terms,
absolutely,
you don't really take it kindly.
Only the Muslim.
So the question is, will this really embolden, you know, some of the sleeper cells are still there because they want to revenge, because to them they take Trump as the great Satan.
Yeah, I mean, you're taking, Trump is just being Trump. Trump, I expected him to speak like that. I remember when Osama bin Laden was killed and the way Obama actually took, even the way he was sitting, he left the military generals in the front seat. Trump was there. He was the one, I mean, well, he's the commander-in-chief, but you know, this is an intelligence-led military operation. It's not even a purely military operation. It's pretty much intelligence-led special forces operation in Barisha area. First of all, in terms of the issues that brought rise, or rather that made ISIS to come and rise, are still there. The political situation, the ideological underpinnings of ISIS, when we talk about the radical Islamists, a violent Salafist, twisted ideologies are still there. So killing Baghdadi, it doesn't make much of a difference. Already ISIS was without territory. I know Hashi, and this is where I know you say that it makes a huge difference. Yes, it does, but operationally, no. This man was basically in a cave. ISIS has been without territory, now without a leader. You have now the other, because of the conditions are still there, ISIS in West Africa, ISIS in the Middle East, ISIS in the Horn of Africa, and now a new front opening right in our back door here in Central Africa. ISIS in Central Africa, they are still there. And these leaders are taking more responsibility cut off from the command and control center, and that is Baghdadi. In terms of who's more dangerous, and I know this is the debate we're talking about, Osama bin Laden or al-Baghdadi, and I can tell you for a fact that Al-Qaeda is a much more strategic, dangerous terrorist organization. ISIS just came, you know, like when you put, is it Andrews or Eno in a glass of water and it just comes up and then goes down. ISIS was more revolutionary. Al-Qaeda is more evolutionary. It is an evolving a group. And Al-Shabaab, that is in our next door neighbor, didn't care much about ISIS. They cared much more and belonged to Al-Qaeda. I know there is a small group in Somalia led by Al-Mu'min and a few others that are trying to, convince Al-Shabaab to join ISIS. But that has not really gained traction in Somalia itself. But with respect to the way Trump has put this whole thing, or calling the whole operation after that girl, yes, this girl was murdered, this girl was raped by al-Baghdadi himself, and sure, Baghdadi deserves what he got. I can tell you that the people who are really suffering from terrorism are Muslims.
Yes.
Whether you go to Somalia
Yes.
or to Iraq or to Syria.
All right. So you mentioned earlier that he was not a direct descendant of Muhammad, and we know that he was not really born al-Baghdadi. He actually changed his name. He was Awad Ibrahim Ali al-Samara. What really inspired the change of name? If you may just tell us there.
Because of it's for propaganda purposes. First, when you call yourself al-Baghdadi, Baghdad actually in historical sense, professor of history here, Baghdad was the center of knowledge, art, revolutionary technologies in the history, not just of Islam, but of the world. And so when you're talking about the caliphate, which is supposed to be global, and you come with a name, Ibrahim, who was incarcerated in Camp Bucca by the Americans, some guy with some substandard microwave PhD from one of those universities in Baghdad. It doesn't help in selling the idea of a caliphate to many young people, particularly young people. And so he had to get this name al-Baghdadi. And he wasn't an erudite scholar as such. For those people, if you read the CIA briefs, and they are very important about this man, Abu Bakr. He wasn't an erudite scholar. He was the usual troublemaker in the streets of Samara.